Hello, everybody,
and welcome back to the Rock and Beards podcast. It's your boy HSR.
Sup, it's Syd.
And it is episode 47.
Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get to my notes here.
And before we actually get into episode 47, I will do that housekeeping portion, and you can skip ahead of that by looking into the description to see when we actually start the review. On that note, we will respond to our favorite comment from last week's episode on our AWOL Nation review. This is from Artificial Gummies, and I like this kind of review. This kind of comment. For closers, you have to check out their album Megalithic Symphony. My God, that closer is beautiful. It's called Nights of Shame. I listened to it one time real quick, but Syd, you've actually listened to this shit before.
It's actually you called me out on this one because last week I was hyping this album up, and I even off camera I was telling Holden he should go listen to it. And then this morning we read this comment, and I realized that it's actually been like 4 or 5 years since I've listened to this album. So I had forgotten what that song sounded like. So we went back and listened to a little bit of it. It's a fucking monster, man. Like
it is.
It starts off with this like really sexy but really heavy beat, and then it just goes into all kinds of weird places.
Yeah, it was really cool. It did make me want to go back and actually check out that album. So thank you so much for that. On that note, if you do want to see us cover particular albums, at some point in the near future, we are going to be working out ways to deliver more request-driven content, streamline that process a bit. So feel free to let us know what albums you want us to cover, but please keep in mind it will take a while to get that going, but that should be live later on in 2018. You can see the request list. It's incomplete, but it's been largely compiled. There's over 200 albums.
It's never going to be complete.
But yeah, because as you keep adding to it, so every now and again I'm going to put in a whole bunch of time, update the shit out of that. But I've been working on some other stuff that we'll be able to talk about soon. So anyway, just to let you know, we are putting in work to make things better.
Work.
And then to let you know, we do have the Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest running, and how that works is if you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you happen to leave a comment about our review or about the man in question, you can then contribute to the conversation a bit. You enter a raffle where first place has a $100 Amazon gift card will be sent to that person of a US dollar equivalent. Plus, you get to request a review, and you get to pick who does it, and it'll be tailored to what the fuck you want, an album, a movie, or something. We'll figure it out. Second place is $50 plus a review. Third place will be $25 plus the review. And we can pull this off by February 20th. That's 10 days away, folks.
We're on a grind. Share the shit out of this video.
Please. We will give away 2 additional $25 prizes. And yeah, once we do break that 1,000, we will make another video over the live feature of YouTube. Use a random number generator against that comment compilation and basically pick somebody. So there you go. That's how it's going to work.
And then we'll quit making videos forever.
That's not at all going to happen. But we can actually get into today's episode. Why don't you introduce today's album, Mr. Sydney?
So today we are taking a look at Every Third Thought by Mr. David Duchovny.
Wait, who?
Agent Mulder from The X-Files.
Yes. I mean, I was saying that facetiously, but seriously, Mr. Californication Hank Moody himself is here. Not with his first album, but with his second fucking album.
When did his first one come out?
2015. I did not listen to it. Like, for me, this was like Bonnie had sent over a list of albums coming out, and then it was David Duchovny or Franz Ferdinand. Which
Franz Ferdinand is fucking awesome, and we totally would have done Franz Ferdinand had David Duchovny not been on this list.
But it was just more...
So actually, look, if you guys want us to do Franz Ferdinand, hit us up on that request list.
Yeah, let us know. But I kind of caved on the Dave Duchovny part. First of all, I fucking love Dave Duchovny as an actor, okay? I think he is a interestingly boring man in terms of the complexity of his character with the stoic delivery he basically delivered and everything. Now, I say this having seen everything but the last season of Californication and the 9...
You lasted a long time on Californication, eh?
And the 9 original seasons of The X-Files, and the one with the spin-off, the Lone Horse Gunman or whatever, the Lone Gunman. So I've seen a whole bunch of this shit, because honestly, he was such a draw to me. It was more listening to him talk. That's my favorite part of
Because he's got this, like, lazy, drawling, I don't give a fuck kind of Yeah.
But he also sounds like a fucking intellectual with a diverse vocabulary. So, like, listening to him, it's like you're guaranteed to, like, in almost every episode, learn a word or something. So it's almost like you could qualify that hearing Dave Duchovny will educate you.
Fair enough.
In, like, an actor sense. And
I only ever saw a couple episodes of The X-Files. I think I got to season 2 of Californication before I got, like, it's a really funny show and he's a really good character, but I got a little bored after a while. It was just like girl after girl after girl after girl, and he's a moody motherfucker.
I love it.
It was cute. I really like that all of his books are named after Slayer albums.
I find that the character on Californication, if it's really easy to find yourself in him, at least elements of yourself in him.
Yeah.
And it's really well done, and watching his life fall apart is amazing. That's what the show is. It's this like long his life falls apart journey, and it's wonderful. So
I just got that he could. I felt it was more like he can just never get his life together.
But like also what. It kind of almost feels like Californication is a little bit based on his real life in terms of if you look into who he is with the addictions, and all that shit. His divorce, I think it was in 2014 with his wife. All of this shit, trying to work things through it. It's like, one thing about him, the man has lived, okay? That is something I can say about Mr. Duchovny. And the way he promoted his first album had this degree of humility. Like, he actually just owned it. He's like, yeah, I'm a shitty singer. I'm just an actor who wanted to make an album. And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. But like, I'm not the best. And, like, the way he came at it, whereas other actors have maybe taken their careers a little more seriously as musicians and etc. I like the honesty that he has behind the whole semblance of who he is as a musician as well.
In terms of the record, is he playing all the instruments as well?
Oh, no. He has a band. I think he's just the singer, and he has the guitar parts that he does. In fact, one of the tracks on this album was completely written by the band, and Dave is just a performer. But I believe he was involved in the writing of the other 11 songs in some way, whether it be lyrics, musically. And anyway, that's just stuff I learned along the way.
So what do you think of this cover here?
Hold on, just before we do it, one more thing, because it's a resource I linked below. I want to shout out actually this YouTube creator. In the description below, you'll see a link to the YouTube channel Surfing Lyrics. And the reason for this is because he put out a bunch of lyric videos for these songs. So for the parts where Dave is not necessarily clear, it was extremely helpful to come across this channel. Yeah, most of this album is there, and it seems to be the only content on this guy's channel, so I thought it was worth sharing on this review as it would have been a helpful asset. And one more thing worth mentioning before we go on is that Dave Duchovny has himself broken down his thoughts on every single song, and I linked to that in the description.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
So you can take a look at how he sees everything, and I wanted to share that with you too, because I mean, come on, it's such a curiosity. Also, I found like this Dave Duchovny like super fan group on this Duchovny. I forgot the name. Either way, that's also linked below, so you can delve into the culture behind Mr. Duchovny, because like honestly, he's so fascinating. It just makes sense that he would make music, is what I'm trying to say. Doesn't have to be good.
David Duchovny, the man. The mission, the movement.
And that's his fucking face on the cover.
There it is.
Red background. And it's that like it's that style from like, it almost feels like it's like back in the day and he's repurposing it, like he just never moved out of the past, and there he is.
It does feel like he's waking up in his mom's basement.
A little bit.
And he's like, but he's got that like that practiced like cynical kind of like lazy look.
It's just Hank Moody. It's just all of it. X-Files is him. That's it. He's like that. That's the essence of that face. So many times have I seen it. I liked it. To me,
it's cute. It works as your favorite thing. It works as a thumbnail really well.
And as a thumbnail, it still looks like him. So like you just get the sense of
little Duchovny.
Holy shit, that is Dave Duchovny. That's my first thought when I saw it. Like, it's him. And then I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this album. And that was my second thought. And then I realized, well, it's Dave Duchovny writing an album or working on an album. You know what? I'm not going to...
It really works because I think lyrically the record is kind of like a self-portrait.
Yeah.
A little bit. So it really illustrates that. And we're going to get to the titles in a little bit, but I really like the titles on this record as well. I think they really illustrate...
Even the album, every third thought.
Yeah,
and it just shows like it's a bit abstract. Like he's got a lot of things on his mind. Some stuff's relevant, some stuff's not. It just makes, and then it also kind of feels like a little mystic because he's got the 3 in there, and 3's got a powerful number right away. So it's like interesting. Is Dave gonna be like mad interesting, or is he gonna be very weird and hard to follow? And you have no idea going into this, or at least
let's find out.
All right, so the first track is actually called Half-Life. Rain or shine. I say, do your thing. Tell us about Half-Life.
All right, so I actually really like this first track. This is solid, man. Came in with a bang, really 90s vibe. I like the title a lot. I've never actually played Half-Life, but the time period when it came out, music like this was coming out. So I'm a fan of that. I feel like Duchovny sounds British when he's singing.
Okay.
A little bit. I don't know. That's just a comment I had. But I really like this track. I plussed it. I gave it a 5. It was a good opener.
All right. When I heard Half-Life, my first thought was like in terms of chemistry, like the rate of decay, I believe, is the half-life, or that's the point when the cell dies or something along that lines. I don't fully understand. It might be nuclear shit. I kind of understand the concept, but without fully understanding the concept is what I'm trying to say. Y'all can educate me in the comments if you know what a real Half-Life is, or if it was about the game. But I don't know.
I don't actually think it was about the game.
but the song's about divorce, clearly. And I say clearly for a couple of reasons. One, Duchovny said that in that little interview. At least part of the song is inspired by a divorce. But then he also has lyrics like, how can half of everything feel like less than nothing? So half of everything. Obviously, you lose half of everything when you get divorced. And then it feels like less than nothing because you've lost the most important thing, that person. Afraid to open my eyes to nothing but open skies. And my first impressions of Mr. Duchovny is this is going to be like the simplest album we've reviewed because the music is simple. His singing is simple. He's not overextending because he knows he can't. And he plays it safe, but in a way where, because I don't expect David Duchovny to be a good musician, I'm like actually really okay with the overall sound that this album produces. So if your expectations are correct, this is pretty fucking enjoyable, you know? But like when you compare it to like professional musicians, this, I don't know. I guess there's a bit of a bias to how I'm going to review this album because I like Dave Duchovny, but I tried to be as fair as possible with it.
I actually think I like this album more than you did.
That's possible. So like then you got lines though like matter decays, Half-Life. Half-lives dissolve eventually. It all winds up in the ground. It's gone, gone, gone. And I'm like, on the one hand, I like what he's doing with the lyrics because it definitely sounds like him. Like you get his style put here. But on the other hand, it's kind of corny and lame while cool. It's the kind of lame that's cool. And I like it a lot. But I also, like in good consciousness, I can't call this the best song ever fucking written. But I gave it a 3.5 because this is surprisingly fun to listen to. But I don't actually think this is like the greatest composition. He's not the best singer. It's just really enjoyable because I like Dave Duchovny. And I'm being flat out and honest with my impressions on this album. That's what I'm trying to do at least.
I mean, I like the tone of his voice a lot.
Okay.
It's very soulful. It's very smooth. And it's consistent. He's got his volume control down. Like he really delivers an honest performance. And I felt like some of the vocal lines fell a little flat just because there wasn't a lot of variation. And that we're gonna get to that later in the album. But especially on this song, I really like the chorus. The more I listened to it, the more it grew on me.
But it's a long song.
Yeah, it's like a stripped down rock record. I don't know. I dig it.
Like on the one hand, I appreciate the rawness of this album. It's the most punk. It's very punk in the spirit of it, almost, right? Like if you think about it, like he's not trying to deliver you a masterpiece. He's trying to express. And on that hand, I love it. But on the other hand, it sounds a little bit too much like he's doing that. Is I guess where I'm going with it. At least for my maybe.
I guess, but like even lyrically, like I guess maybe it sounds cheesy, but I like that he's not relying on cliches. Like every like it's clearly his words, right? Like it's not. Anyway, well, I feel like we're spoiling the rest of the album now.
Fine, but yeah, but on this song, anyway, a 3.5 on 5. That's what I gave it. What'd you give it?
I give it a 5 on 5.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I really like this song a lot.
All right. I guess, what did you guys feel? What is your feelings on Dave doing
Tell us your every third thought.
Yeah, please.
Thought feels boring, untrue. Every third thought.
All right, let's talk about every third thought that Sydney has.
Here's my every third thought. I felt like this song in particular, but a lot of this record in general, kind of sounds like how there was a lot of music in the 90s that sounded like music from the 70s, but like more distorted and more melancholy. And I felt like that was a big style that was going on throughout the 90s, and I feel like this sounds like that today. So can make that connection there. I also feel like a lot of this kind of sounds like the hip a little bit, which is maybe why I know you're not the biggest fan.
I know like 3 songs.
Yeah.
I'm a shit Canadian. My bad.
Whatevs, bro. But yeah, no, I like this track too. I didn't like it as much as the last one. It was a little repetitive. But I really like the concept of every third thought. And I don't know if it was tongue in cheek, but to me, I thought of the statistic that like men think about sex every 7 seconds. And I was like, yeah, that's about every third thought. So like, if like this guy is hung up on this person he's singing about, clearly, right? And if you're a guy and you're like a guy's guy, then sex is probably involved in those thoughts. So I enjoyed it on that level. I thought it was a little cute, little tongue in cheek there.
I can appreciate that perspective. I didn't share it, but I can appreciate it. I don't know if you're done there, but.
Please, what did you think?
Okay.
Tell us.
So, the song, I felt like, first of all, there was a clear, consistent theme to this album, right? So, I realized that we are going to be going through Mr. Duchovny's explorations of emotions dealing with this ex-wife of his, is what I'm thinking, right? Because when you do break up with somebody, if you're an emotional basket case like Mr. Duchovny and I are, you obsess, right? You can't stop thinking about it, and this song kind of conveys the idea of obsessive rumination, right? Like, it's got lyrics where every thought on the future, of the past, all these thoughts on things that don't last, every second thought of what's false and true, every third thought is on you. So he's not really trying to be like subtle with this. He just kind of like comes in, he sings differently, and I gotta give him props. Like, you know what? You don't get bored. In the sense that, like, some albums, like maybe Culture 2, are given to give you the same product 24 times in a row. But Dave Duchovny is genuinely trying to create a unique experience on every song within the realms of what he's able to deliver, and I admire his ability to put that out there. Like, you can really see that he's listened to a lot of albums and he's trying to recreate that experience, and that is fucking actually really cool. So, but this song really just kind of zones in on that struggle in his head. It really like boils into that obsession of this person. He can't think about other things, big things, important things, everything, but then this thought just keeps coming back. Every third thought is just the same thing. And I don't know that it's sex so much as it's love, even if it stems from the same place.
I mean, I'm not saying he's just singing about one thing. I thought that was like one silly way to take it. It's obviously a serious song. It's not.
Like, I get a shit of 4.5 on 5. I feel like on the finest parts of this album is when Dave Duchovny is really honest about things where this is like real. And his realness to me really shines through here, because he's not trying to be as intellectually ambiguous as in the previous song. He's just kind of pouring his heart out, and I like that a lot more, that side of him that comes out on this album. So 4.5 on 5. This is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best songs on the project, and really worthy of being the title track.
I gave it a 4. And side note, I listened to Culture 2 the other day, and
okay, you're right. The 2 Chainz track has some variation with the jazz and stuff.
No, I wasn't a fan.
Just to anyone, I did
maybe
go
I
the
can,
whole way through,
but maybe I can't.
Hands are tied. Well, maybe I can, but I'll try.
Right, Syd, can you?
I think I can,
but maybe you can't. But you'll try.
But I think I can.
But you'll try.
But I'll try.
Okay.
This is really where you get a sense that the album is going to be a lot of long, slow, melancholy, kind of folk rocky, very stripped down.
So the embodiment of Hank Moody.
Kind of. I don't know what is that.
That's the character he plays on Californication.
Okay. So yeah, and I think it was actually on the next track that I specifically wrote down. now I get that he was just playing himself on Californication. But and I like the song. I like it, and you're gonna get a lot of this from me on this record because there's 13 of these, and they're all kind of like this. Like, they're not bad. They're good individually, but there's a lot of them happening in a row type thing, and like I can't really find anything to fault on this track. Like, it's very melancholy, moody, emotional. I like the acoustic guitar. It's cute. The drum rhythm is cute. There's not a whole lot going on on the drums in general on this record, but what I do like, I like the bass tone.
Okay.
It's very fat and it's very pleasing to me. I'm not sure if they actually used an acoustic bass. It sounds like they might have, but at least for some of the record. But yeah, I gave this a 4 on 5. Like, it's a pleasant song to listen to. It's very calming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool. I gave it less. I'll start off with my 3.5. This is my my average song on the album. So there's nothing to fault about it. You're absolutely right, except for the part where it's so far from being like a polished, perfect song. It almost feels a little bit like these songs are not about being like, these are the equivalent of a mixtape in the world of polished records.
Okay.
Is how I felt about this project. So if you consider like the AWOL Nation from last week or some of the other projects, and you compare it against, I'm talking about quality, engineering, writing, all of it put together in a package, I'm like, this is not as good as that, but I'm really enjoying it in a way that I wasn't expecting. And I don't think it's just because I'm a Dave Duchovny fanboy. I think it's because there's, again, this honesty and this rawness to this record that if you're into, let's say, a less polished feel, like I feel like a guy like Anthony Fantano may find some joy in this because it's not going to be like this pop. It's the opposite of Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of what we did with that Mania record in terms
and
of
actually,
the
like, we kind of felt the opposite on that one too. I wasn't really a fan of it, and you really enjoyed it.
So like maybe that's just me. I'm not the biggest fan of the ruggedness, but again, I'm saying my enjoyment of it is a lot higher than my opinion of it being a great song, which is a weird experience I had most of the way through this project. There are some interesting lines on this, like say goodbye, maybe I can't, but I'll try. This seems to be like an open call for this person to come back to him. He kind of talks about all the efforts he's going to put in, but then he kind of gets like mad real at it every single time. Like, I'll slap the cuffs on the hands of time. Like, that's a great idea. Like, it's so romantic and shit. Maybe I can't, but I'll try. Like, he's not about the realism anymore. He's just trying to say things to make her come back a little bit. And then, like, he's not even saying he can win. He's just saying he'll put in effort, and he might just still fail, but, like, almost like, please come back, you know? And then I like the little idea of your choice, I win, you lose. What price, what cost, you won, we lost. And it's like, you get the sense that this is just like a lose-lose situation all around, and everything's messy, but maybe, you know? And I love that way that he can actually really convey that. And if like he really keeps at this, I think that Dave Duchovny in a couple more projects might actually be talented enough to back up the thoughts behind the song. And that is an interesting way that I'm looking at this. But yeah.
I mean, realistically, for Dave Duchovny, this is a side project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, I don't think I'm a musician now.
No,
like,
but at the same time, he clearly has this drive to get better. And
yeah.
I want to see what the results of that are from where he's at with this project.
I think
yeah, Stranger in the Sacred Heart is the next song.
That is true.
I let it slide.
Let's talk about it. Are you a stranger in the Sacred Heart? Yeah.
That's Sacred Heart in Montreal is a private school. Yeah.
All-girl private school.
High school.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
Yeah. I did have that thought just now as I was saying it, but I guess taken literally, it's different.
Anyway, we've come too far. So again, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I really like the bass tone on this track. I feel like everything is like where it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing super grandiose or stellar, but like the guitar gets a little more creative when the guitar is supposed to get a little more creative. It stops right when it's supposed to stop. The drum punches for the chorus and for the post chorus come in right when they're supposed to come in. Everything is just like kind of on a map, which I appreciate. sometimes you don't want a surprise, you know. I feel like that sounds like I'm insulting it, and I'm not trying to insult it. That's just kind of what's coming out. I do really like the philosophical nature of the lyrics, because I feel like they kind of meander the same way that someone like Nietzsche kind of meanders. So I like that a lot. It's just kind of pondering life with no real decision or real. He doesn't really come to a conclusion in any of these songs. He's just kind of thinking about how things go. So I like that because I feel like the music matches that very well. So I gave this one another 4 on 5.
All right. So yeah, it is a little all over the place. He has lines like, "Down to the Sacred Heart, everyone plays someone else's part. The strangers in their roles pray for people they don't know." And I'm like, you're right. It's just kind of aimless observation. And
Yeah.
and I get the sense that he's numb now in this story. He's going through breakup land. Everything's messed up. He doesn't, so it fits the motif of the album. And I really appreciate that. Like, I appreciate the effort he put into this project. Don't get me wrong. Then he's got lines like, I think he says, "Famine, ignorance, and war. I leave that out my door." And then something like "me, myself, and I," and blah, 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 blah. And that's the thing, is it just kind of sounded a little bit like blah, 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 blah more than some of the other ones. Like, I mean, I've never been a fan for some of the more overtly fanciful liberal artsy stuff, and a little bit of this song came off that way to me. But that doesn't mean it's bad or anything. That's just a tone and style. I give this another 3.5. I think it is equally as good as most of this project. It's well composed. Everything is what it is. It's like he's at this stage of music and he's going all out to try to make it sound different, because again, it has its own unique personality, which I appreciate, but it also is exactly what, like everything, like you said, there's no surprises, and that's okay. I got more. So Mo songs, Mo problems.
Mo.
How many hearts can you break?
I just gotta start this off by saying, fuck, I didn't link it, but there's an Instagram post of his messy handwriting and some of the potential lyrics of this song, and he does not write very clearly is anything. Anyway, go on, Syd. Tell us about Mo.
Today I learned David Duchovny does not write clearly on his Instagram posts. Again, like this, I have kind of the same things to say. I really like the lyrics in the chorus, like if less is more. What he switches it around, like, what are you waiting for? What am I waiting for? I'm talking to the guy in, yeah, kind of like a talking to the guy in the mirror type of thing, but also making a commentary on the way some other people live, maybe. So I appreciated that. It's a really slow song, and I gave it a 4.
I have a little bit less to say about this one as well. I didn't find any of the lyrics in and of themselves to be totally quote-worthy. It was really, like, simple stuff, like, if less is more, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. But the first verse is kind of about wanting more and not knowing when to stop. So philosophically, I thought that was interesting, and that was worth, like, mentioning. It's got a good premise to it.
Yeah.
The second verse focuses on something he's done a lot of, and that's going after strange, as in other people that are not your partner, and kind of questioning the actual merit of it. Like, we all want change, but then, like, it's kind of empty, and it's not worth it. So here we have our protagonist of this album almost reflecting on the consequences of their actions and how things came to be. And that's about as far as I got with things to say. It is a decent track, actually. I liked it more. It has a better energy than the other ones, even though I might have quoted less lyrics or whatever. But I found this one to be really pleasing to listen to. Like, this really, like, spacey kind of, like, you can get lost in it. So it is slower, but I didn't really feel it being the 4.5 minutes that it is. It kind of was just enjoyable to me. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Fair enough.
So someone else's girl.
That's where we're at.
May bust in the room.
Oh, I'm not playing, and I know it's not PC.
All right. Do you have someone else's girl in mind? Is that the kind of things that are happening here, Sydney?
I mean,
anyway.
At least,
Okay, go on, talk.
I feel like there's nothing I can say here that would be safe to anyone ever. So I like this one a little more. It was a little more exciting. I feel like there were horns happening. I could be wrong. Throughout the verses, just like some basic kind of held notes, but it was cool. It added like a little extra oomph, a little extra energy. That's really about it. I give it a 4.2 on 5.
I liked it more than you did, actually. This is one of the other songs that like really struck me. Like, whoa, this is good. This is something really fun to listen to, right? Like, he's got so many lyrics here to like look at that I thought were like interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not playing, and I know it's not PC, politically correct, not computer. But now that voice is saying, this girl belongs to me. And he's just kind of letting you know what goes on in his head when he is being a little bit of a scoundrel and sleeping with your girl like the hip-hop stars do. In this regard, he is like the Migos.
I think... sorry.
Yeah, so go. We're going to say...
Well, I was just going to say, I think my main complaint with a song like this, it's like when you have a sound like this, when you have like a really acoustic tone, a really stripped back tone, I feel like this is the kind of song you can tell that the drummer heard the guitar version of the song and just started playing exactly that, as opposed to like having a little more fun with it, being a little more bouncy, a little more creative. And so I think that's what's keeping these songs from being like super, super exciting.
That's fair. I also feel like as much as I enjoy Dave's delivery, he isn't stellar. He's just enjoyable. And then other lines like, but she's someone else's, I see the rising sun. She belongs to everyone. That's fine by me. I don't care. When it comes to bliss, I'm a communist. And I'm just like, that's hilarious.
That was
like,
a good line.
That's pretty funny to hear, actually. Like, it cracked me up. I wish like some rapper had dropped that in like a, like a Migos song or something. Women makes a boy a man, then she makes a man a king. I don't want what's more than mine. I just want everything. A man makes a girl a woman, then makes a woman a queen. I kiss the ground you stand upon and lay my sword down at your feet. And I'm like, man, Dave got game. Like, that's game. And I really enjoy that. Maybe I'm a loaded gun, but I ain't got no bullets, just a magazine of fun. I'm sorry for the timing. I will take out all the blame. I don't make these jungle laws, but I will win the game. And I'm like, again, and I just did Migos a couple of weeks ago or whatever, but it kind of again had that feel of like this is a good way to approach that subject matter. And my favorite part of this whole song is when he went like la-di-da-da-da or whatever in the hook. I dug this a lot. I give it a 4.5 on 5.
Nice.
So yeah, the next track is called When the Whistle Blows.
There's no...
Yeah.
I fucking like this one.
Okay.
It's a little more energy, a little more of that rock spirit. I dug it. Halfway point in the album, makes a lot of sense to have a track like this come in here. Kind of lift the mood a little bit, lift the temperature. I really, really like the super fuzzy, gainy guitar tone. And I gave this one a 4.5 on 5. This one reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Blacklight Burns.
No,
let me know if y'all heard of that in the comments. It's okay. If y'all heard of Limp Bizkit, it's the guitarist of Limp Bizkit doing his own thing, and it's fucking cool. You should check that out. It sounds nothing like Limp Bizkit. What did you think of this song?
Okay. I don't know. I liked it a lot less than you did. For me, it's a 3.25. It's a little bit more than boring.
Whoa.
For me, my standard of rating, 3 is boring. I don't feel anything towards it. So I feel some positivity towards it.
It's pretty rough.
Because it just felt like generic in a way that I didn't sit as well with me as some of the... I mean, a lot of this album could be called generic, but this one had less personality, I think, in terms of the lyrics or something. I'm not trying to be like a dick. Like, if you can't crawl, then you best run. If you can't fly, better not jump. And I'm like, okay.
Best listen.
I'm just like, okay, like, it's harder to, like, be like, that's amazing and thought-provoking.
You got to be on your best behavior. David Duchovny's not coming to town.
The drums at the beginning of the song are only in the left ear, and then it just kind of comes in hard, but it doesn't sound like when really coolly, like when it's really done well on like a proper album. It just kind of sounds like so obvious that you hear the drums in only the left ear, that and then the song kind of like kicks in with the guitars in both ears or whatever. I don't know if that's the right drum rhythm, but that was an observation I made, and maybe that just put me off for the whole song.
Did not notice that.
There's no place called the past, but I gotta get there fast. And it's like, come on, man. You were doing well with a lot of the other ones in terms of cool lyrics, and a lot of these ones just didn't. They annoyed me more than they impressed me, which is fine. I mean, I'm allowed to occasionally dislike one of them.
Yes, you are.
It didn't do a lot for me, this track. 3.25. I don't know. Let's talk about
Spiral.
Yeah.
Saw my name on the wall.
Just before we go into it, this is the one that, according to that Dave Duchovny interview, that the band wrote and he had nothing to do with, but it sounded good and they went with it.
Interesting.
And he's never performed it live, and he's a little nervous too, but he thinks it will be good live.
I definitely think he should perform this song live. There are two songs that this song reminds me of. One of them is Glycerine. The other one is driving me nuts. I cannot remember it for the life of me. But it's another one of those 90s just kind of guitar vocals tracks. I really fucking like this song. I like this song a lot. I felt like it was very calming, very pretty. I like that there's space for some jams to happen, even though it's just a guitar and vocal song. Like and it branches out. It's really major. And then it turns really minor, and it changes a couple times. It's really cool. There's a lot of space, but there's also a lot of evolution musically and compositionally, and it ends on this like headbangy jam for the last 40 seconds, which is really cool. I gave the song a 5 on 5.
Okay, I gave it a 3.5, so it was a step up from the last one for me. I really like the line, "When I tell you I love you, I know you really don't care." And I've lived that moment in the end of your relationship. Sometime, and if you think about like the story of this album so far, you've gone through the point where you've had the breakup, you're just coping through it all, and now maybe you're trying to do that little like Hail Mary, like, "But I love you," and then she doesn't care about you, and then this song kind of explores his like spiral into isolation and like ignoring some shit, you know. It's kind of like she's just done with them, and then as a result, like I said, he spirals out. He's just his like reboundy, fucking miserable, alone in the world, but not like rebounding in a sex sense, but like when you just like fucking hide, and he's sitting there and doing the equivalent of watching movies and eating ice cream in his pajamas,
right,
while ignoring the world. Dave, I don't know. All things considered, it's a pretty decent track. It is very much in line with this album, and it still feels like it's part of it. It still feels different, and it does everything. It's just like, this is the mediocre version of a proper album is kind of where I'm coming at it. So like in terms of its
so
like
rough
global structuring, it's everything it's supposed to be, but like it's just missing a little bit of stuff to make it excellent. So yeah, 3.5 on 5. I'm not trying to be a hater. I genuinely find this to be an enjoyable project.
So much haterade.
But I'm being honest, not like
meteors
whatever.
of hate.
Whatever.
Just falling from the hate sky.
I enjoyed this song. I'm not gonna let your Roman fucking coin weigh heavy in my pocket.
Boom.
Portrait and surrender.
All right, Roman coin time, Syd.
It's not too much more to say about this one. Got a bouncy groove, cute little guitar melody going on there, catchy little chorus, and yeah, it's a palatable song. Give it a 4 on 5.
He's got some more obscure lyrics. Apparently, he was reading a book, and the book had to do with Roman coins in some way, and he just kind of flowed that into these words. So he's got lines like a Roman coin in my pocket, your love weighs me down from above, like a lock of hair in a locket, priceless and worthless, my love. And I'm like, okay, you're right. That's got some like depth to it per se, but it's still a pretty shallow concept and whatnot. And I don't know. I guess it's kind of like what I liked some other lines again, like, but still kind of weird. Like, this is what it all amounts to. All the time I spent with you, a foreign book written in Dead Sea letters by a hand we can't remember.
Rough.
I mean, like, it's a really well eloquent expressiveness, I guess. Like, it's good. But, like,
it's a really eloquent expressiveness, guys.
I didn't say I was. I said it was. But, like,
I want someone with a T-shirt that says that.
Please do. I would love to see that. You would make me happy.
Oh my god.
But really, it feels so fluffy, and it broke past my fluff threshold of what I thought was palatable on that front. But otherwise, I did feel like the effort in these songs has been increasing the last couple. And like the middle was a bit of a slump of like less effort got put in. And I really did enjoy this one more because I gave it a 4, which for me keeps going up, unlike the downwards for Syd's 4. But I thought this was a pretty great track. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I guess we could talk about Jericho.
Let's talk about Jericho.
I wait in vain to hear him.
Okay, apparently this one's about him and his dad.
It's about him and his dad. This is really the point in the record where I'm starting to feel how samey things are starting to get. Like I feel like I don't know which songs I would have cut, but I might have cut a couple of them.
Okay.
But having said that, I like this song a little more than the last couple. No, sorry, just a little more than the last one. I liked the whole stance about like there's no sin to move on. It's no sin to move on because you know people don't express that message enough. Like it's not a bad thing to get on with your life after bad things happen. And then he goes on a little bit about leaving the dead in the ground and stuff like that. But no, I felt that was good. I like the jam. It's just it's a very again it's all got a very similar sound. So there's not too much to add on there. So I gave this one a 4.2 on 5.
All right. My first thought was, again, he manages to come at it differently. So I know there's a sameness to the album, but that's because I feel like like I've been expressed a couple of times, his range is a little limited, and he's playing within his range. But within what he can do, this is pretty different. And I've heard some very similar. We made the joke already. But again, I'm impressed by what he's done here. I did like that same little part. Like, I wait in vain, hear him call my name forever anyway. I could almost hear him say, it's no sin to move on. Leave the dead in the ground, little boy blue. Blow Joshua's horn. Let's just see what comes tumbling down.
Yeah.
Like the walls of Jericho. And because his dad's Jewish. And those
just
are all
in case you missed that
in the interview that he said. But basically, I dug the overall sense of it because you do get the sense of like loss, but also a certain sense of closure.
Right.
So even if the song is individually about his dad, if you think about it in the concept of the transition of dealing with loss that this album seems to be going through, it still fits the story of being about the girl at the same time in terms of the global theme of the track moving the project along. And again, I'm really impressed by how he's able to structure an album from a writing perspective to such perfection. That's really cool. And I do think that game gives him points. And I gave this one a 4 on 5 because, again, I do think this is an enjoyable track worth listening to on this project. And if we were going to cut some shit, it would have been in the middle part, not this part of the album.
No. Well, like I said, I enjoyed this one more than the last. And I've enjoyed it more than quite a few of the others. My main thing, again, is there's not enough, for me, variation in the drums.
Right.
Because that's what I like to hear on a rock record, right? It's very stripped back, so you've only got guitar, bass, drums, and vocals for most of the record. There's not even all that many harmonies, so it's kind of one level on each. So on a record like that, I like to hear each element kind of pulling its own weight. And the thing about his voice is that there's not a lot of variation, but it is that kind of very soulful, very not quite croonerish, but almost crooner, very bluesy style of delivery, very almost spoken word, but not quite. So like he could have varied it a little more, but at least in terms of the way he presents the lyrics, it's different every time. Okay. But the drums, I just feel like it's lacking in its own identity, kind of.
I mean, you're not wrong, and like I said, but. Like I said, it's kind of within the realms of what was there. But then again, he did have a band, and maybe they could have done something different. But maybe this was his vision all along, and he wanted it to sound like this.
Possibly.
Or maybe he wrote the drums on a lot of the songs. I don't actually know. But if you are one of the super fans out there watching this and are like...
Or if you're in the band...
feel free to let us know what level of composition Dave had over the various instruments. I know he was involved. I don't know to what degree. That would be really interesting to learn. And yeah.
Because again, it really sounds like Dave came into the studio, played a guitar on his played a song on his guitar, and the drummer just kind of drummed along, and that's what stuck.
Anyway, let's move on then to the last first time that you'll hear us say some of these things.
The time ain't forgot. See, I got what I needed, so now I got.
Unless I'm mistaken, that interview pointed out that to Duchovny, this was the most Bruce Springsteen song on the album. I've never really listened to Bruce, so I'm not really sure. But I just thought you guys might appreciate that. If you do, and if you agree, let us know. That's what Dave thinks, not me or Syd. That's Dave Duchovny's opinion.
Although now that you say that, I kind of can't unhear it. He does have that kind of like drawling, half singy, half like really kind of, but not quite as passionate. I would say as Springsteen is wont to deliver his performances. Having said that, I am not a Springsteen fan. Bring all the hate in the comments. Next. I had a lot to say about that. I don't have a lot to say about this song. I like the lyrics, and everything else is pretty much the same, and I gave it another 4.
Well, what's most distinct about this is there's a fuck ton of lyrics compared to some of the other ones. Like, the lines aren't just these, like, simple little sung-out lines. Like, especially if you compare it against the amount of lyrics in the following song that we'll get to. This one is heavy, like... That tattoo on your finger where your love used to be is just a scar with a funny, sad story to me. Yeah, I'm a bit used myself, but blue book value's low. I hear whispers in my shadows. I drag in my undertow. I got skeletons in my closet. Whatever. And like, that's a lot of lyrics compared to like any of the other lines I've quoted. That's all within one verse. And it kind of has this more verbose experience. And you get the feeling that this is a little bit more about the game. Like, this girl that he's meeting has other lovers. He doesn't care. He's also broken. He's born. She jaded. He jaded. They're doing their things. And it's almost like you're running out of first lines you can say, first times, or even new experiences you can have. So fuck it, just roll with it. And you got this cool melancholy, spaced out feel in that regard, like thematically on the song. And if you do look at the rest of the album, I guess once you've moved on, you've accepted your broken nature, you've accepted who you are, and now you're back out there and you're just meeting people with this stark honesty as, I guess, Dave starts his player phase again. I don't know. We'll see what happens next.
Skirt.
And so yeah, I really did dig this track. This is the third one on the song I thought was truly fucking amazing and really fun to listen to. I give it a 4.5 on 5.
Q. Let's get this done with, shall we?
Yeah, Marble Sun is the closing track.
So I stepped outside.
One more, Syd. Tell us about the closer, Marble Sun.
Again, and actually particularly on this one, I like the bass tone. Again, very fat, very, very present. I appreciate that. I felt like I heard an accordion going on back there. I couldn't tell if it was an accordion or like an organ. But I liked it. It gave it a very kind of French European bourgeois insert term. Insert term, exactly. Insert pretentious term is what I was searching for. I thought it was a capable closer. And it is a little bit different. It's got a little bit of a swagger to it. Not that much going on in terms of the rest that's all that different, but and there's nothing wrong with it. It's on its own. It's a very enjoyable listen, so I went ahead and gave it a 4.
I feel like compared to the last 3 tracks, which I've genuinely liked, even if not thinking they're the greatest thing ever, this one was a little underwhelming, especially as the closer. It does give you this sense of resolution, both in the music and whatever. He's thinking calmer, he's reflecting reality, he's looking at this marble sun, walking, blah, blah, blah. But it didn't really say anything, in my opinion. It just kind of gave you a sense of it. It was very vague feeling. Now, maybe I missed the point, but I just felt it a little hard to get into it. And considering some of the better and more excellent tracks on this album, this was it was a good closer in the sense that it fit the story more than based on the quality of songs, if you consider what AWOL Nation did last week and came out with, I think my favorite songs may have been like the first and the last one, and that is interesting placement on an interest level.
The closer on that album was
and so if
fantastic.
you look at him here, it's almost like this is a closer because the story mandated it. It's almost like your criticisms of the Orville. It's like it had to be like this to fit the plot. And,
yeah, I can see that.
And from an album perspective, I think if there's a learning point, it's to remember that if you are going to write the album like that, I guess maybe for all of us out there trying to put together an album, is that your closer should fit the story but also go out with a bit of a bang or leave some kind of an impact, because I feel like it's a little bit on the forgettable side. So I gave it a 3.5 because it's a decent song.
Okay.
But I can't see myself being drawn to it or coming back to it. And if we want to just I guess go on a bit about the album as a whole.
Yeah.
For the project, I actually gave it a 3.85. Like, by no means would I consider this a classic album. What I do think it is a really good niche album. I think it's a really fun experience to see that, David Duchovny takes it this seriously, that he put out this well thought out, well put together project. And it's almost encouraging that I enjoy something that is so non-professional sounding, because as a guy who's trying to learn how to do things, it's very inspirational. It makes me want to go out there and try harder, because Dave Duchovny is putting himself out there, even though maybe every other version of him that is out there is like either disillusioned or embarrassed and not doing it. But he seems humble. Like, he doesn't actually care if you don't like it.
No.
He just wants you to know he's trying. And I think that is honorable. But the overall sound of this leaves me with, there are songs on here I dig a lot. Most of the album's okay to me, and it makes me curious to what comes next in general.
So for me, like when I'm grading an album, anything between like a 3.9 and a 4.1, that is the sweet spot of consistent. Like that, it's a good album. Anything above that is like, now you're starting to get a little extra, and anything below that is like, okay, there are some flaws here, and like as it goes lower, there's more and more flaws that happen throughout the record. So on this one, I really didn't feel like there were any outright flaws. I thought it was very consistent. I thought it was a good listen. It's really relaxing. Very soulful, something that you really can put on in the background and enjoy while you're working. If you are listening a little more intently, there are some things that'll make you laugh. There are some lines that'll catch your attention. So I really like the lyrics on this one more than actually a lot of records we've reviewed recently. I really like the lyrics on this one. I really would have liked to have heard more out of the drums. And maybe a little bit of variation, a little bit more variation in the vocal melodies, maybe some harmonies thrown in or something, maybe a guest spot from a woman would have been nice, just to have a little bit of a change in terms of tone and stylings, because it's all very much in the same register, and it's all kind of, within the same half octave or so. But it's like a solid, really kind of folk rock, kind of melancholy, throwback 90s record a little bit, so I gave it a 4.1.
All right, cool. Well, thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. Let us know what you thought about David Duchovny's Every Third Thought album in the comment section, and that also could help you win some Amazon money, which is always fun.
$100.
We always appreciate what you think. We love the fucking long comments. Let us know why we were wrong, why we were right, whatever. Just put it out there.
Tell us.
Don't forget to hit that like video. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll keep making more content. Tell us what albums coming up this year you give a fuck about.
If you liked Culture 2, tell us why you're wrong.
Well, I'm not going to be like that, but I'd be curious to know why you thought Culture 2 is a good project, and how you felt about an hour and 45 minutes of Migos. But end of the day, that's not what this one's about. We did that whole review. It's over. That was an experience. And yeah, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful fucking Saturday. Bye.
Peace.